J. Roland is an up-and-coming author in the dark epic fantasy genre with the release of his first novel, Shadow of the Soulblade, and we had him on a short time ago talking about that book, and it's now out. So how are you today, by the way, Jay?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Toby. I'm doing really great, thanks.
So, just for people that missed last time, are you able to provide a brief reminder of the plot of the book?
Sure. So it's set against the backdrop of a brand new world called Ashana, and it is an epic dark journey which interweaves four different primary characters' heroes' journeys together into one epic quest. Where they kind of fumble together to meet each other and then have to overcome some significant challenges because their fates become intertwined and end up to save their own lives. They end up having to save the planet as a whole or attempt to.
Of course, you mentioned they face challenges. Did you face any challenges when you were launching this book?
I've faced numerous challenges, from just getting time to write the book to being able to find opportunities to be able to tell people about the book. I've been, canceled from different Facebook groups because I came in and they said that I was doing too much self-promotion, which I get. Those are their terms of service and their rules. That I was trying to observe while politely, trying to put myself out there. But it's difficult as a new author, really, to try to find ways to invite other people into this world that I've created. So those are some of the primary challenges that I've faced.
How have you gone about promoting it? Because you mentioned Facebook groups. Is that a good way? Because I'd imagine if there was a group set up specifically for book promotion, most of the people in the group are just going to be promoting their own books, and maybe there's nobody in there to actually want to read it.
Facebook is a great way, and you just really have to be able to find the right groups. And while, it's kind of like where you find bees, you'll find honey, right?
Yeah.
So where you find authors, you will find readers who are looking for things to read. There are people who are voracious readers reading 1 to 2 books a week sometimes, or a couple books a month or a couple books a year. But you'll always find readers where you find authors. And so it's just about being able to make your book shine in a different, unique way amongst all of the others.
And a lot of authors are, of course, readers. So do you find that there's a bit of a crossover maybe, and an author will appreciate a good book?
Definitely. And I've done that myself. I've even gone into different groups and different author and reader groups and self-independent author promotion groups. And I found, M.V. Prindle, who wrote Bob the Wizard, who I've become a huge fan of now. He and I are now, friends. We talk on a pretty regular basis. But I read his book and became a fan within the first 2 chapters, and bought the hardcover immediately, because it was just that compelling.
Wow.
So, and then other authors have done the same for me.
Yeah. So how has the response overall been since the book's been launched?
The response has been phenomenal. I actually just hit the Amazon bestseller list on Friday. And I became the number 1 bestseller in my genre for dark epic horror, and number 4 in epic fantasy.
It's really impressive, because if you'd have just told me that, I would have been like, yeah, right. But you actually sent a screenshot, and it's there for all to see that you've achieved number 1 bestseller in epic fantasy. Did you ever think that would happen? I mean, was it a goal, or did it just accidentally happen?
It's always a goal. It's always a dream. Right.
Yeah.
But really, it came down to I followed the advice of some of the industry leaders, right?
Yeah.
While I haven't officially taken Mark Dawson's class, I followed Mark Dawson's advice on how to launch a book. Shelby Lee from Shelby Lee Poetry has an amazing social media marketing course that she teaches. Kara Stein, I've watched all of her launch promotion stuff. So there's a lot of study and research that comes into this, especially from somebody who has never successfully launched a book before, who's never, who's brand new to the industry. There's a lot of study, and selling does not, selling from a social media perspective doesn't remotely come naturally to me. It's not something that I'm just fell into. It's something that I had to work and study a lot for.
Is it going to be a cycle now? Now that you're the bestseller, people are going to buy your book even more because they're going to check the bestseller list and buy what's popular.
Yeah, so that's the way that this works, from what I understand, is that book sales occur in waves, right?
Yeah.
So this first wave was just about, okay, so if we start to look at why did my book become a bestseller, I owe 95% of my credit to John Rick Detoon. He is my cover artist. He and I worked together. I showed him what I want drawn. I kind of made some stick figures for him, and it all starts for me with having a really clear and concise story that you can boil down into a cover, right?
Yeah.
So I did that and put it into stick figures, and he brought it to life, right? So when people look at my cover or my book versus another book, and they see my cover and they see this amazing story in the cover, and then they look at the blurb and see kind of an outline of what that story is going to look like, it brings them to buy the book.
Yeah, because they say don't judge a book by its cover, but most people will, especially online. I think people probably have shorter attention spans than they do in a bookshop or a library. People are just scrolling down, so the book has got to pop out.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. Is we judge every book by its cover. So we had to make that cover as good as possible, and he helped me do a phenomenal job. With that. So what's going to happen now is it's reached the bestseller list. It's now got 13 or 1,400 readers just in the past 4 days, and so now it's going to as those readers leave reviews, right? It's going to trickle down, right? It's gonna trickle down, and then those readers are going to leave reviews, and then those reviews are going to prompt more readers, and it's going to continue to cycle. And I also have some amazing collaborations coming up with some pretty awesome literature social media influencers.
That sounds so exciting. What kind of content will you create with the influencers?
So they're going to read the book. They're going to review the book on their social media channels, where they have hundreds of thousands or sometimes millions of followers who are all themselves voracious readers. And so those readers will continue to leave reviews and spread the word to their friends if they like the book. And so I believe it's going to continue in those cycles. It's going to continue to go up and down as it moves through the life cycle of what this book launch looks like.
And what have the actual reviews on Amazon been like so far? Because I suppose it's good to get loads of reviews, but only if they're positive.
So far I have one review.
All right.
And it's amazing. And so that was, I'm not sure who left it, but they said that I fulfilled their epic fantasy fetish. So that's it's an interesting review. But the people who bought the book this past 4 days, now need a couple of days or even a couple of weeks to finish the book, because it is 330 some pages. And so with that, they're going to need time to finish it. And once they finish it, then they'll go leave their reviews. And that's why I say it happens in waves and cycles.
Yeah. It's probably a good sign that you haven't got many reviews yet, because it means that people are reading it and haven't given up yet.
Right. They're still reading the book. And so that's definitely a good sign.
And have the sale figures met your expectations, and have they maybe even exceeded them?
They've definitely exceeded my expectations. And we're just going to continue to, it's not even about profit at this point right now. I have a good job. I make a decent living, and I'd like to continue writing and eventually transition to that as my primary source of income. But right now it's just about inviting as many people as I can into this world along this journey with me. And so all of that money that I'm making right now, or the profits that are coming in, that's just going to go back towards more advertising and finding new ways to find more adventurers to come on this adventure with.
What do you think makes this book separate from all the other books on the bestseller list? Apart from the cover, what would make it stand out? It
is an entirely new journey. It is an entirely new world with all new peoples, all new races, all new creatures, all new monsters. And while each of these peoples and cultures were inspirationally drawn from sources of actual cultures, or even some science fantasy cultures, or science fiction and fantasy cultures, kind of aspects taken apart and reblended and put back in, so that they would feel organic. They're still very new and unique experiences to have.
And you mentioned that you want to continue as a writer. So do you have plans for more books, a sequel to this one maybe?
I do. This is going to be the first in a trilogy. And the next trilogy is going to be The Wells of Ashana, and that's going to make more sense, or rather, The Wells of Ashara. And so that's going to make more sense once you read the very end of the book. That title will make a lot of sense. And then from there, it's going to go into the third book. And then there's going to be 3 books set in this age. And then after that, I have a plan for 3 more books set 1,000 years after this.
Yeah.
And then after that, I have a plan for 3 books set 1,000 years before this.
It's exciting. So people that are enjoying this book have got a lot to look forward to.
They do. There's a lot coming.
Have you seen signs of a fandom emerging?
My first fandom started emerging with the beta readers that started reading it and started following me on Facebook. And now I have, I believe I have 7,500 followers on Facebook.
Wow.
And 1,500 followers on Instagram. And so, yeah, they're pretty voracious about what they've, put out there. I even had one go post a bunch of things on Reddit, and they got taken down because they thought they were trying to they thought it was me advertising when it was really one of my beta readers who was just really excited about the book and trying to tell everybody about it.
Yeah, well, that's a good sign if people are just naturally telling other people about the book, because I think it's probably the best form of promo, but you can't really do it deliberately.
I agree. You don't see a lot of, book, commercials on TV, or, this is, a nice rare experience where you have a book, promoted on radio or podcast.
Yeah.
But most books are advertised by word of mouth. So it's all about readers who liked the book, who are just voraciously adamant about kind of proselytizing it to their friends and family. Like, I read this book and you've got to read the ending's amazing, or this character is my favorite, or I thought this character was going to be great, but he sucked, but this other character was awesome, Yeah.
So do you think that with all your followers on Facebook and Instagram and people telling other people by word of mouth, that one day you won't really have to do any promo? You just need to put a post out on social media saying you've got a book, and it happens naturally.
I think that marketing is always going to be a challenge for me, because even if you have readers who are voraciously following and looking for the next book, you're still trying to continue to find additional adventures to come on this journey with you. And so I don't think it's I don't know. I don't know what it's like to have something that just kind of sells itself just on the I guess on the merit of my name.
Yeah.
But if that happens, right, if I get to that level, I will definitely be humble and appreciative of all the people who kind of, propped me up and put me there.
You still want to have new readers and reach as many people as possible, because there'll be some people that word of mouth doesn't reach.
Right. And part of that is also going to be through launching into multiple genres, right? Yeah. So, for example, I already have a plan out for a short story book, and it's a book of like psychological thrillers. It's a book of multiple short stories of psychological thrillers. And I even, for example, I woke up in the middle of the night last night and was like, wow, that'd be an amazing idea. And I had an amazing idea for this. It's a journey about a doctor a surgeon who gets sick, and that's all I'm going to say about it. It's a weird thing. It's a weird, interesting story about this surgeon who ends up, having to perform probably the most important surgery of his existence. And so wow. It's just interesting how it is, but there's the interesting way that it kind of weaves through the narrative that is going to make it interesting. But these are new readers who wouldn't have necessarily been interested in epic fantasy, but maybe by reading this other genre of mine, they will then see what else I've written and then come into epic fantasy. I've done that, for example, with Jim Butcher. I started by reading the Dresden Files, and I was already a fan of fantasy, but when I read the Codex Solera, it was a whole new genre from urban fantasy to epic fantasy that kind of, pulled me in that direction many years ago.
It's interesting that idea came to you in the middle of the night, because I don't know about you, but I find that my best ideas come when I'm in bed or in the shower or going for a walk. It must be something to do with being alone with your thoughts and no distractions.
There's something about being in that state. It's called theta, where you're between waking and sleeping, and you're just in that contemplative, headspace. And, that's when I think that's when we're really most open to the muse and to the muse speaking to us and understanding, the possibilities of things.
Well, this book, of course, is called Shadow of the Soul Blade, and it's on Amazon Amazon, of course. Is that the only place, or are there other places?
You can get it on Amazon. Right now, I'm having some technical difficulties. I have a ticket, and I'm working with the Amazon technicians. But Amazon is supposed to be publishing it to Barnes and Noble and Books A Million and all of those other places, and distributing the copies to them as well. But at this time, right now, Amazon is currently the only place that you can pick it up.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for joining us again. It's been great to talk to you.
Thanks so much, and make sure everybody goes to www.jroland.net.